All right. Well, I wanted to start off like that because I've had a similar experience. I certainly can relate to Poe of thinking that there's some, special ingredient. When I started my dental practice, I went to a ton of CE. Some of you know me well. Some of you know that I went to all kinds of CE, and I learned pretty early on that I needed to have a written vision and a written mission and have it very clear and share it with my team. And I did that. And we built an amazing dental practice together over about a 10-year period. And that was amazing. And when I got there, when I got to that amazing practice, it wasn't quite what I thought it would be. I've heard enjoy the journey, and I thought maybe the reason it wasn't how I thought it would be is because I didn't, take time and treasure the journey, but actually it was something else going on. So can you all relate to going after something and then when you get it, you don't feel quite as satisfied as you thought you would when you get there? Has everybody had that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So, or you get there and it doesn't, maybe it's satisfying for a while, but it doesn't last. Everybody's had that too, right? So I really believe that, for me, this epiphany that I want to share with you today is I believe that this will explain why myself and so many of us have had that feeling when we reach our goals, where it's just not, it's not it. Can you also all relate to Poe, looking for that dragon scroll and believing that secret scroll will give us some invincible power or something that we've been looking for, looking outside of ourselves for something? Yeah. So, when he looks into that scroll and sees himself, I believe the message is that nothing outside of us actually makes us great. We each have inside of us our own unique greatness. I know you guys have heard this before. This is exciting though. We each have our own unique greatness and wisdom waiting to be discovered and our own special sauce, but we keep looking for tools and skills and verbiage to make us better. And I'm not saying we shouldn't build our skills. I think that, all the workshops and classes that I've been to, I've learned a ton of stuff. And it's been amazing. And there's a fundamental flaw, though, in the way that we show up to those things, I believe, at least for me. And that's what I want to discuss today, is the fundamental flaw. And it's why I believe so many things we try don't work or don't give us what we really want when we get there. So I'm actually really honored and excited to be with you guys today. I know this is a group of wise, amazing people. And I'm excited to share with you, about authentic leadership and where it comes from. Before I start, it looks like you guys all know what you're doing. I see that you're muted. But I just invite you all to eliminate distractions. I've got a few logistics here I want to go through. And be present here for yourself. Whatever you're here for, I want to make sure you're here for yourself to get what you're here for. Everybody's time is valuable. Also, please take care of your precious body. If you need to go to the bathroom or get some water or something or move around, I invite you to do that. If you do need to move around for some reason or go to the bathroom, please turn off your video camera. And if you go to the bathroom, please turn off your microphone, unless you want to give us all a good laugh. Anyway, if you do, just turn everybody. It looks like you know how to turn off your video cameras, then and mute yourself. Does anybody need any guidance on that? It's in the lower left corner. I also want to say, if you need to hop on or hop off, please do so quietly. I'm going to try to I'm not going to mute you guys. I'll let you mute yourselves so that when you want to speak, you can open your line. That would be awesome, because I'd love for this to be interactive. If you must use the chat, use it more to communicate with me. I find the chat can be kind of distracting, so I would prefer that we not use it. And if you want to speak, just open up your line and say something. Hi, Kurt. Good to see you. Hi, Hal. Good to see you. So I think that's about it. When someone is speaking, this is another thing I want to add. When someone else is speaking, please, vote their win, like send them good juju. And if you're speaking, do the same for yourself, just to make it fun and safe for everybody. And the only agreement I would invite today is a beginner's mind. So I would love for us all to listen from a different place than our knowing mind that's, trying to run this through the filters of what we already know, and just be open to possibility that this could be something new. I think that's it. Can everybody agree to play with beginner's mind today?
Yes.
Awesome. And I just want to
Sure.
start. Great. Awesome. Who is that on the phone?
That's Mike Lewis. It hasn't worked through the computer.
Okay, gotcha. Hi. Hi there.
Hi there.
Yeah, so I'm here just to share ideas. It's super important to me that you run them through and, feel what feels true for you. It's important that we all be real here and to all show up and play full out. I do have slides, and I also sent you a workbook. And just so you know, any of you who've been presenters, you probably know this, but I've been changing things up until, last night. So I can't help it. Ideas are coming that I wanted to share and change things around a little bit. So if you notice the workbook's not exactly lined up, that's okay. And if you want a copy of the slides after, I can send them to you. Just let me know. So, and I'm not married or attached to my slides or my agenda. So if we get on a conversation that's really juicy, I'm open to go there. Any questions about any of the logistics before we start? Everybody's good?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so as we start and before we dive in, I'd love to invite everybody just to take a deep breath. Let's all breathe in together. You can breathe out and take another deep breath. And out. Now just invite us all to get present and centered here. Take another deep breath if you like. And just know that you have, whatever thoughts and concerns you had going on before this call, and whatever you have going on after this call is still going to be there if you want to go back to it. And so I just invite you to let go of all of that and bring yourself really present here for this. Awesome. Take one more deep breath and open your eyes if you have your eyes closed, and we will begin. So I love the conversation of leadership. Some of you have been around me quite a bit, and some of you maybe haven't. I'll share a little bit about my story here in a second. But as I shared in the email and in the workbook, we're going to talk a little bit today we're going to talk about authentic leadership and leading from the inside out. And we're going to talk about why leadership is one of our biggest challenges and what we can do about it, some of the things we can do about it, what our obstacles really represent, and how to use them to be a better leader, and how you can actually live more aligned with your deepest values and desires. Is that what everybody's here for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just checking. All right, so I want to just share with you why I'm so passionate about this. For those of you who are here at the beginning, I shared a little bit about my dental practice story, and I have had quite a journey through dentistry. I know you're not all in dentistry, but I started out in dentistry very young, and at 11 years old, I was sitting in the orthodontist office, and the orthodontist was showing these giant pictures of me to my parents and pointing out all my flaws. And I was in the room, and I already had a pretty low self-esteem, and finding out that now I have these defects going on with my face, I can actually see this, imagine. I actually remember very well going home that day and going to my bathroom mirror and looking at myself for the first time and thinking I was ugly. Like honestly looking and just seeing somebody that was broken and defective on the outside and ugly. And so that was something that was really a challenging experience. And I think that particular experience is what led me to relationship-based dentistry. And so at 11, I found that out. I went through braces twice. I had jaw surgery, and jaw surgery changed my life. I at least felt like, I looked normal and that I was okay on the outside. So it really did change my life. And I wanted to be an oral surgeon. I wanted to change people's lives in the way that mine was changed. So as I went through dental school, I thought I was going to go into oral surgery. Somewhere in school, I realized that oral surgeons don't mostly get to do life-changing stuff, at least not at that time. They were mostly doing extractions and draining abscesses, and implants weren't a thing back then. And so I decided to go the route of restorative dentistry and studied with some of the best dentists on the planet. Frank Spear, I've been through Pankey and on faculty at Pankey, and Dawson, and just a bunch of the great leaders in dentistry. And as I shared earlier, I built this fantastic practice, and I struggled with my leadership. Actually, Lisa, that's on this call, could tell you some stories. But I was always that striving, pushing, proving, searching person. I was always driven to succeed. And I have to say that, I transitioned about 10 years into my practice into really studying more personal growth. And I came to personal growth in the beginning with something's wrong with me and it needs to be fixed. And I think so many of us do that. We show up looking for the solutions to fix us. And then I noticed that it transitioned as I did a lot of personal growth work into, I'm not broken, I'm okay, but I need to still make some improvements. I need to be different. I need to make some improvements. There's still some things that need some changing. And now what I realize is there's actually nothing about me, myself, that's broken or needs fixing. That yes, there are skills I can build. Yes, there are things I can do to get better at, leading, speaking, anything. But it's not that there's something with me that's wrong or broken. So that's what I want to talk about today. It really was a moment of truth when I realized that. And I finally realized that chasing things on the outside wasn't going to give me what I thought it did. So, I think that's all I want to say about that. I just want to share, as a dentist and now as a coach, my mission on the planet has always been to empower real change for people, and now it's more of an inside out change. And my commitment today is to challenge you to think, to challenge you to be open to new possibilities for yourself and to see things in a new way. And I think one of the reasons I was drawn to do that is just because of my own pain and frustration over the years. All right, how's everybody doing? Good?
All right.
Hi, Robert. I'm going to start a little slideshow, and again, Robert, feel free to unmute if you have any questions or anything, anybody at all. I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. It's quite something to have several windows open and find them all. Now I still want to be able to see you guys. All right, here we go. Everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I have shared a little bit about myself. I'd love for each of you to speak, just share your name, where you're from, a little bit about yourself, your practice, your business, your life, whatever you want to share. And I'd love to hear your intention, like why you're here. So who would love to go first?
I'll go first.
Great.
My name is Hal Board. I'm from Dallas, Texas. My practice is a restorative practice, very much, I think, probably like yours, Allison. I have studied with Pankey and Dawson and Spear. My intention is to be a better leader. In my practice life is I'm pretty much of a hands-off leader, and that has not worked well for me.
Mm. Can you say again your intention for us, Hal? Did you guys, Hal's video cut out a little bit while he was speaking? Yeah. Can you just say it one more time for us so we can all hear?
Yeah. Yeah. I think my weakness in my practice is me.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership ability. I am pretty much a hands-off leader, meaning no leadership. And I think that's a weakness, and I want to become a better leader.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I'm Mike Lewis from Rochester, New York. And I'm so old I can't get the computer to connect with you guys, so I'm talking on a phone. I've been in practice for almost 45 years, and I was done with. I went through Pankey when I still could hear LD Pankey speak. My education is Pankey Dawson. One of the biggest influences was Wilson Southam from the group at Cox up in Canada. We talked about volitional dentistry, where I work because I want to, the team works because they want to, and the patients come to see us because they want to. That made a big difference. As far as leadership is concerned, I've been blessed in my life because my father said I was a natural leader, and I've been captains of teams and presidents of organizations, and my biggest leadership drive was to leave the people that you were leading thinking that they did it themselves, not get in the way. So I know you, Allison. I'm pretty much here because you put this together, and I'm more curious than anything else. So anybody can ask me questions too. I'm at the point where if I can transition my practice, I'll do that and help the next person. So that's where I am.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Who's next? You guys can just jump in after someone finishes. I'd love to hear from all of you.
Okay, I guess it's me.
Awesome.
So I'm Kurt Easton. I graduated dental school in 1984 and did similar to what you kind of did, Allison. I worked really super hard to try to prove that I was worthy and created this really successful practice, and at the same time created a life I absolutely hated. And when I got into personal development, I did it for the same reasons you did. It's like, there's something wrong with me. I'm totally broken. I can't figure this shit out. Somebody has the answer to this. And so I left dentistry in 2012, primarily because my body finally said, if you're not going to just man up and do this, I'm going to do it for you. And so kind of had some health issues that took me out of the game. And at that point, I had blown up my life completely and decided, okay, now's the time. I've got the time. I have no other excuses. I'm just gonna take the deep dive into what I thought was personal development at the time. And I at this point am coaching other people that were earlier versions of myself. And I've been following you for a little while because it seems like we're kind of in similar places. And so I'm here just because I'm curious about what you've come up with and how you're seeing life. I totally get the inside out process, and I study from, people like Michael Neal and people like that who are very, very wise about that. And so I'm curious about what you're up to.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
Sure.
I'll go next. My name is Lisa Alvarado, and I started in dentistry in 2005 with Allison. Before that, I was in corporate healthcare and made the transition so I could be more with my family. And Allison is totally a ride. She's extremely fun. I love to learn, and I'm always looking to go higher and higher and deeper and deeper. Also because I thought I needed to be fixed, was not super aware of that at the time. And so we just got to enjoy a similar journey and did a lot of sharpening with each other over the years and enjoyed that, and even in the hard times. I am currently help support her transition out of her office, and so I'm with her successor, Ryan Coulon, part-time, helping him mostly as a facilitative coach in the office. So it's a lot of fun to get to do this on a day-to-day basis. And I also help other practices around the country go in and support them in achieving what they want to create. And I love to create. I love to learn new things, and I'm totally here because I love Allison, and I'm really excited about the new things I'm going to learn today. And I really appreciate your reminder for the beginner's mind, because I certainly had a piece of me that was like, okay, I need a good reminder. And today when you said that, I was like, no, I'm going to learn something new. This isn't going to just be a reminder. This is going to be something new. So I'm excited. And awesome. I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Michael. I love you too.
Love you.
All right, who's next?
I'll go next. I'm Brett Kessler. I'm a general dentist in Denver, Colorado. And I also know Ryan Coulon pretty well through Bob Frazier. And we've spent a couple hours together here and there over the years. And he's a good guy. I learn a lot from him on a regular basis. But anyway, I've been in practice for 24 years. My wife and I practice together. She's an orthodontist dentist. We actually sold our practice about a year and a half ago to a small group, and took the payout for it. And I've been, 95% happy with it. The 5% is I don't like to be told what to do, but for the most part, they've left us alone. And I have a relationship-based practice similar to what's already been described, where we focus on the well-being, overall well-being of the patient first and primary. My life, I'm in recovery from substance abuse disorder, 20 years. And so I've always been on a journey since 1998 to improve my life and, live each day to the fullest. I've been really involved in leadership in organized dentistry, both on the local level as well as the national level. And I'm about to take on to the trustee position for my district for the ADA. And that'll start in September. And just always looking to be the best leader I can be. Currently, I'm a little unclear of, what I'm supposed to be doing, here in Denver. I'm very clear what I'm supposed to be doing 211 East Chicago, but I'm not very clear what I'm supposed to be doing with my practice. And so I'm trying to figure it out. When we started the call, you talked about, did you ever really work really hard to get that goal? And then, you realized you're not fulfilled. And that's happened to me many, many times. And so I'm just trying to get real clear on what's next for me. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for being here. I know there's a few people that haven't spoken yet, but I can't see everyone on my screen. So Robert, who else is still there that hasn't said hi? Pam?
Hi, Allison. Hi. I'll go. So my name's Pamela Meyer, and I'm a therapist and life coach, and I am not a dentist, and I like my dentist, but that's as close as I go to dentistry, other than I love Allison as well, so that's why I'm here. I live in Northern California. I ran a nonprofit for about 10 years and then recently left, and I'm working on building both my practice and my online business doing coaching. And it's been an ongoing question for me about that question of worthiness, that question of delivering on purpose, on creating vision in such a way that it works. And I feel my practice is now building in a new way. My business is now building in a new way. So I'm very excited for this space. So this is about authentic leadership of myself, my world, and building something that's authentic. And given that I was a leader in an organization for about 10 years, I'm always interested in the questions of, I feel like I was a really strong leader and a really compassionate and offered something new and different to the staff. And I'm always interested in how leadership can really facilitate the people's growth as well. And that's my mission in life, is reducing suffering and increasing people's capacity for what they really want. So,
Awesome.
thank
Awesome.
you. And I'm here because of Allison, just because I saw she offered something. It's like, oh, that is so exciting. So
Thank you. Awesome. So is Robert, are you the only one left? Is Robert still here? Can you guys see in gallery view who's here? Somebody can help me. Who hasn't gone yet? Otherwise I can X out of my screen and look. I'll do it. Let me see.
Hello, Allison.
Oh, Hugh, of course. Hi.
I had a tough time figuring that out. Okay, folks, my name is Hugh Doherty, and I've been with Allison for quite a few years. We had a lot of nice programs from just about every area of dentistry, and of course, she loves leadership, and there's a reason for that. For the most part, I'm working with a lot of dentists in the country. Name of my company is The Business of Dental Practice. And I was fortunate enough to be with the American Dental Association, with the Council on Administration. And they sent me all over the country. I was in all 50 states and I gathered quite a bit of information. And I needed as much information as I could possibly, because in the beginning, when I got out of dental school, I left dentistry after I was in it for maybe about a year and a half. And I was out running around in the world of basketball. I love basketball. I called up the local Catholic high school and I coached a team. And all of a sudden, we had a dentist who was a pedodontist and came in to me and absolutely read the riot act to me how dumb I was. To try and, didn't spend any time in the dental world, but he invited me to St. Louis, and I stayed with him for 8 weeks, and I copied everything he did. We had cameras going, we had tape recorders and what have you, and the thing that he preached to me for 8 weeks, you're a dentist, I'm a dentist, but I'm a businessman, he kept saying to me, and that's what you got to be. Because we all have been in dental school, we got shortchanged as far as I'm concerned. I make a little pitch against the American Dental Association and that little thing. We spend 4 years, nothing but teeth, and nothing about the business world. And I've had the opportunity to slip into the Harvard Business School. I was there for 3 summers, and we had a program, the Small Company Management Program. I scooped up everything that they had, and that's what, for the most part, that I shared around the country. And I was fortunate enough, as I said, to be in every state in the country and all the main programs and what have you. So it's very wonderful. My only unfortunate thing is I never met you, Allison. I'm hoping that I'm going to hope you invite me down to. I have enough sun because where do I live now? I live now in Stuart, Florida, and I'm from, and you can guess that I'm from where we chop up the English language up in New Jersey. We don't speak too well up there, so we do the best we can. But I have to thank you very much for giving this type of program, because if it's one thing that jumps out at everybody right now, it's leadership. When you get into a place and get a new young doctor, and get them started, because the focus that we've had more in latest years is because everybody wants more patients. And the way that we discovered more patients is take good care of the team that's there. I practice teamwork, teamwork till I'm blue in the face. And I recommend to everybody that you should read every book by a guy named Leon Cioni. And if you haven't read the five dysfunctions of a team, you're missing the boat on how to take care of people, because the more I take care of those teams, the practices get better and better and better, because I preach one little simple thing. You're somebody special, and I want you to be special to these patients, and it really pays off. So that's my message for today. I wish everybody well, and thank you very much for having us.
Awesome, Hugh. That goes right along with the Kung Fu Panda video I showed. Everybody's special, right?
Okay.
All right. So I think Robert's the only one that hasn't gone, and I have a feeling he might be muted for a reason. I don't know if he's at work or if he's with his kids, but he's got 4 kids. And Robert, are you able to jump on so we can hear from you? Okay, that was Mike. Okay, Robert, if you are, at some point unmute yourself and say hi, and we'd love to hear about you. All right, guys, so I just want to share a little bit about my intention. Thank you all. And so now everybody knows that there really is just a bunch of rock stars here. My intention for this call is that we each leave here with expanded possibilities and real awarenesses that help us move the needle on our leadership and our lives. And that this happens from a different place than our typical thinking mind, as I shared earlier. And also, my intention is just to show up and be of service. Doing these kinds of things is a little edgy for me, and so I'm just here because I had something to share and I wanted to be of service. I thought it would be helpful, so thanks for being here. So leadership really is one of the biggest challenges in dentistry and in life. Yes, would you all agree?
Yes.
Whoever has not muted themselves. You can nod if you agree. If you don't, you can say no, and we can talk about why not. And it affects every area of our lives. And I'd love to share some of my favorite quotes. So John Maxwell says, "Everything rises and falls on leadership." Everything. And then Susanna Rakam says, "All leadership stems from self-leadership." And then those of you who know Dr. Rich Green may have heard this definition before, which I think is my favorite because it really pulls it all together. A leader is a person willing and able to influence behavior, their own first, then others, to a preferred future. So if everything stems from self-leadership, and we need to be able to, be willing and able to influence our own behavior first, then let's look at leading ourselves. Like, what is it about leading ourselves that makes it so challenging? And I'll share my thoughts about it, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Does anybody want to just throw in what is it about influencing our own behavior that makes it so challenging? Or what's challenging about it?
Be willing to fail.
Yeah. Oh God, that's a good one.
And learn from it.
Yeah. So true.
For me, in the past, it's been being attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
I would say part of it is we really don't understand what drives our behavior. We're confused about that.
Kurt, I think you're going to be co-leading this with me today. I have a feeling. Who else wants to say something about why you find it hard to, it's pretty much to me when I think about influencing or leading my own behavior, it's like getting myself to do what I think I should do, knowing what I actually should do, all of those things. So many of us, we know what we should do, right? Or we think we know what we should do.
There's a certain amount of inertia. And although you know that you should be doing something else, it's just easier to continue on what you've been doing.
For sure. You know what? That's actually a really great segue. I'm going to jump to my next slide. I'm going to show just a little bit about how human how we work. And then we're going to change to another model about how humans work later that I think is even more telling. But so we have our results, right? And many of you may already know this. We have our results. Our results come from our actions, which I think also our speaking influences our results. So I'm calling languaging or speaking part of our actions. And where does our language and our actions come from? It comes from our beliefs and our thinking and our values, and then our feelings that are created by that, right? Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I'm going to add one more little piece. So our thinking leads to our language and our actions, which is it's before that is even our feelings. So our feelings cause us to act and speak. Then we get our results. Then over here on this left-hand side, we have just evidence that generally reinforces what we already believe is true. So we end up in this sort of cycle of thinking and believing where we're in our own little world of what is true. And we continue to collect evidence for those things that we believe are true. And our mind actually, it happens quite unconsciously. Actually, most of it is totally unconscious, that we have filters built into our brain that before anything even makes it into our brain for us to look at, to even discern whether we want to consider it, it's filtered out by our beliefs and our values and our, the way that it's presented, the language it's spoken in, how does it fit with our experiences, our memories, our everything. So I think the percentage is something like 95% of the information that's coming in that we could actually take into account is filtered through that. And then we come up with this internal map of reality, which we completely discount everything that doesn't fit with that in general. Does that feel true?
Yes.
Can everybody see that? Yeah. So this makes it tough to have new thinking when we're in this cycle and we have these neural pathways built and we have all this evidence that we've collected that what we believe is true. So can you all see this screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, I need to move it over. But so can you guys want to share where these thoughts and beliefs that are at the top of that triangle that I just showed, where did our thoughts and beliefs come from in the first place?
From our own experience.
Okay.
Agreed.
And
From
what
family.
about, go ahead.
From family.
Family, yes.
Culture.
Yes.
Peers.
Church, school, right? Authority figures of all kinds. And mostly, let me see what my next question is. So mostly what I want to say before I go to the next question is, who said our experience? Okay.
Brett.
Yeah, Brett. So when you think about your experience and where your experience comes from, I think that we could go even a little bit deeper and sort of pull that apart and see that. You guys stop me if anything doesn't resonate here. Something happens and our experience comes from the meaning that we make up of it. Like something happens and then we decide that means that we shouldn't speak out loud because, children are to be seen and not heard, or we get embarrassed in front of our classmates, so we shouldn't do that thing again. Or then we find out all these different ways that we should behave in order to be loved and approved of. So does that all feel like, is that what you mean, Brett? Can you see how that fits with what?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we learn all these things from our family and other people, and we then take it in as if it's true. And then it becomes our own belief system, or we push it away and decide that it's not true, and that becomes our belief system. So are those beliefs that we've adopted actually true?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. And yet when we're in life, when we're doing life, we function as if they're true, right? Because we're usually inside of that triangle, we're inside of our neural pathways. And we believe they're true because we've collected so much evidence that they're true. But why is it that, Brett and I can be sitting in the same room and see the same thing and totally walk away with a different truth, completely different experience, believing that we know, like I know that my version is the truth and Brett knows that his version is the truth. We've all had that happen, right? So
look through the lenses of our own core values and our own experience to determine that truth.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. Like that's exactly what I was talking about with the filters. We totally do. We see it only through our own lens.
Yeah, we're going to try not to.
Paul, I don't know. Paul?
Yeah.
Can you, hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
You were unmuted so we could hear you talking.
Oh, sorry. I'm in the office. I'm just finishing with some patients.
No problem. I want to bring you into the conversation. Do you want to say hi and just tell us just a little bit about where you're from and your business, your family, what you're up to, and why you're here?
I wasn't really prepared for this. I've been a fan of yours for a while since, meeting you back with doing those workshops with Spear, I guess. And so, just kind of following the stuff that you're doing and what else? Gosh, I wasn't ready for this. I'm sorry.
No problem. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not
The stuff with Spear and the stuff with Panky, and I know that you had recently been in touch with Paul Henney. Is that right?
Yeah, Paul and I are friends. Yeah.
And so we just had him in Chicago for a meeting also, talking about a lot of these similar kind of things and stuff that we've done with Avram King and with his protege, Alt Brower. So, so I'm just, I'm into this stuff. I like the whole concept of behavioral dentistry is fascinating to me. And these concepts that you're bringing up are critical for us to know ourselves before we can have even a chance of communicating with our patients.
Absolutely. Awesome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks.
And just logistically, if you do have noise, it would be awesome. Can you mute yourself so I don't have to mute you?
Yeah, if I can figure out how to do it. But yeah, I will. I'll figure this out.
Are you on the phone?
No, I'm just here. I get it.
Okay, perfect. So I want you to mute yourself so that you can jump back in when you want to, so we can hear you. Because if I mute you, then I won't be able to hear you speak. Okay. Is that the only other person that's jumped on that we hadn't already said hi to? Okay, awesome. So we believe, I'm going to just go back. We believe these beliefs are true because we, initially decided they were true, and then we continued to create this evidence that they were true throughout our lives and build these strong and fast neural pathways that happen pretty much unconsciously for most of our lives. So when we did that, I'm just going to say, the question is, who did we trust? And who do we trust when we're listening to those neural pathways? And I would say we're trusting probably our younger version of ourselves, who, if you guys can think of another answer for this, I'd love to hear it. But for me, it feels like when I continue to build evidence for these beliefs, that I'm trusting actually like my 6-year-old or 5-year-old or 4-year-old or whoever decided, whatever age I was when I decided that those things were true, which sometimes they don't necessarily serve us when we're, 40, 50, whatever years old. So can you guys think of who are we trusting when we trust those old beliefs? Does that make sense, that question?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking it, just the contrast, is actually who do we want to trust versus who we are trusting when we stay in that little loop. All right, I'm going to move to the next slide. So this is an interesting question. We think we have free will, and I believe we do. And are we really influencing our own behavior as much as we think we are, in the way that we think we are? Like, we think that we're voting for the president of the United States, and we're doing it, because that's what we're, this is what we believe, and he believes it, or they believe it, or whatever. And whatever it is that we're choosing, we think we're doing it out of free will, but most of the time we're actually inside of those programs, making those decisions. And so, yes, we have free will, but we're mostly inside of our programming. I don't know what the percentages are, but I think most of the world and most of us, most of the time, I mean, I can speak for myself. Does anybody here know that they've been walking through the world in their own programming for pretty much their whole life? Or am I the only one?
No, you're not the only one.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, I see some other heads nodding. So,
Hey, Allison, it's Lisa.
yeah.
I'm curious, would you suggest that if we're operating out of our previous programming or our current programming, then we are not operating in free will, that we would have to choose to activate free will to either choose to remain in the programming because we embrace it willingly and consciously, or we want to choose something different?
Yes, that's great. Well said. There's also a third alternative that I'm going to share in a lot. Maybe you can remind me to come back to it. The third alternative would actually be, I'm going to share it later. I don't want to, it's too early to bring it in right now, but yes, I think it would be to look at those thoughts, decisions, actions you're taking, and become more conscious of whether or not that's actually, like, where's that thought coming from? And then you can, if you want to choose it, choose it. If you do not choose it, if you don't choose to choose it, don't choose something different. So basically, to become aware of it. Yes. And there's another choice. Go ahead.
I think one of the things that we challenged ourselves on, and my children, is always be curious and always try to get out of your comfort zone to see what happens. And you're never always right. You're never always wrong. It's just you have to try different things. And I don't remember my parents telling me that. I probably remember once again, maybe Wilson Southam and even LD when he said, know yourself. And that was a journey for me to know myself, because I thought I knew who I was. And LD, the first hour I was at the first philosophy seminar, said, know yourself. I went, wow, that's a journey. So I'm on the road now.
Totally. I love that you brought that up. That's become my favorite subject. And that's actually one of the reasons I'm so excited about this conversation. Totally. Thanks. That was Mike, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I didn't even really understand when I heard know yourself, which I've heard it many times, but when I heard it at Panky, I don't think I really knew what that meant. I thought I was doing that because I was taking all those personality profiles, the DISC profile, and the Myers-Briggs, and the Colby, and all these things, and doing all these things, and I thought I was knowing myself, but it was, I'm going to keep, this is all part of what you're saying, know yourself, actually, so it's perfect. So why it's so hard? Because we are in those unconscious patterns so much of the time. But an even bigger problem is our misunderstanding of how things work. And this is where I think Kurt, this is what Kurt was saying. So we've learned, and it started when we were very, very small, that our experiences, our feelings, our experience of the world comes from our circumstances, from our environment, from the people around us, that something outside of us can make us feel a certain way. Yes? Everybody can see that, right? That we've learned that. Like I believed that I'll say that in a minute. So then we have these experiences outside of us that we believe are creating our feelings. And so then we go out and we try to change, fix, or improve those things outside of us in order to change our feelings, in order to feel better about ourselves, in order to feel better about our marriage or anything, or work. So we go out and try to learn these things so we can feel better. And that's where I think we have a huge misunderstanding. And that, the book that Kurt was pointing to is a great one about this. If you guys want any resources, I'll share some at the end. But we have more stuff than we've ever had in our lives. We have more solutions to our problems than we've ever had. And yet we're more unhappy than ever. Like as a culture and maybe as a planet in general. So I really believe this outside in paradigm is what's costing us our happiness and our fulfillment and our well-being. And for some people, their lives, because we're completely disconnected from where our happiness comes from. We're looking for it in the wrong place. So some of you have heard this, and I know Pam, you're a non-dentist here, but there's been this story for a long time about dentists having the highest suicide rate and divorce rate and, all these things. And now in medical schools, they're trying to work on doctors' well-being, their actual emotional well-being, because they're so stressed out and so burned out. And, I had an interview with Cliff Katz on my podcast, and Cliff said that in the 80s, that when they did the research, it actually wasn't just dentists. It was actually all professionals that went after more degrees. And so I think that's an interesting thing. I think it is actually probably because the more, I can totally relate to this. And I know most of you here are so learned, so you guys have done a lot of work on yourselves, can relate to how frustrating it would be to keep climbing and climbing and climbing, looking for another new degree or another new thing, and still always finding that just wasn't the thing. I think that's why the suicide rates were higher in professionals, because we just kept looking for that next thing, and we did it all, and it just didn't work. So we developed these strategies to change the world, to fix the world out there, to feel better, to become a better person. And we think when we get that better house, that better car, logically this makes, I think we all know this sort of on a conceptual level, that it doesn't necessarily work, but we still behave out of this paradigm that if we had a better house, or if we had a better car, if we had more money, if we had a better relationship with our spouse, our kids, or whoever, better health, more successful business, then we would be happy, or we would be finally fulfilled. So it's that more, better, faster, and marketing doesn't help. Marketing's telling us that as well, that if we just get that new car, we'll get all the, if you're a dude, we'll get all the, gorgeous chicks or whatever. So that's exactly why I had the experience I did with my practice. I can see now that in my vision, in that creating of my practice, I had an expectation of who I would be or what I would feel like when I got there. I had an idea that I would finally prove that I was enough, and I would finally feel that, I wasn't defective and that I was enough. I would feel that because, my gosh, I built this phenomenal thing. Look at what I've done. I'm going to feel great. And it could have worked, except for, in order for it to work, I would have actually had to change or heal the belief that I wasn't enough and I wasn't defective. That I was enough, that I wasn't enough and that I was defective. But I didn't heal those beliefs. They were still there. So I still had those old thoughts. I got to that practice and I was still left discontented and searching. And so that's what's really led me to this work that I'm speaking about now, this inside out stuff. So I'm just recapping here. We think our is everybody resonating with what I'm saying? Can everybody see this, or is anybody not?
Yes.
Okay, I can see a few of you and I can't see a few of you. If something's not making sense, will you say something?
Can I just add one thing?
Or add, yeah.
I think that, we go after these goals and, we get to the end of the goals and we're not quite fulfilled. And I absolutely agree that, we're trying to validate something externally to fix our insides. But we learn a lot about ourselves in pursuit of those goals too. And we become, more than we thought we could have become if our goals are stretch goals. And I don't know, on my path, I think that, when I got to that goal and I wasn't completely fulfilled, I still not regretful of it because it brought me to a new level of awareness of myself and the discovery of myself.
Absolutely. Very true. I have the same experience. Yes. I totally get it. Thank you for that. Because I definitely
I don't mean to sound like a necessarily a born again, but I was raised up a hard Calvinist and Presbyterian. Part of that was you've all been given gifts, and it's your journey in life to figure out your gifts and use them to the best you can. And sometimes you look for a gift and it's not there, doesn't exist. And other times you try something different and all of a sudden you find you have a different skill and a different perspective of what can be done. And one of my drivers has been that as a part-time poet, I always looked for the moments that I can go and look up and smile and say, if I died right now, I could die a happy person. Like seeing my youngest daughter run through the garden, the sundress, or watching my son ski bumps in a ski competition. So it's like the simple things that give me the biggest happiness and make me go on farther.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, there's so much wisdom in this group. So I'm going to probably skip a few slides here, but basically the bottom line here is that it works from the inside out, not the other way around. So we think that we're feeling and responding to our environment, but we're actually feeling and responding to our own thinking about the environment. So to me, when I heard this, even though I've done a lot of inner work and this work, just hearing it in that way was for me a pretty profound thing. Like I remember sitting in bed, laying in bed and like, whoa, this is pretty profound. Like everything that I'm experiencing is actually coming from my own thinking, which is kind of scary, but it's actually a really powerful, cool thing that we get to choose. So I love this quote. Men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing has happened. And I think that's one of the, that if we get back into our own little head and our own little beliefs, we can't see it because we don't let ourselves see it. So, so we decided, I just saw not that long ago that I decided that I was not good enough. And I decided that I was defective. And I decided what I thought was going to fix it. Like, that's pretty powerful that I did that, but I didn't realize it. It was all happening unconsciously. So, so what actually, it makes it better when we actually see it for what it is, that those ideas that I had, those thoughts that I had, those things that I believed actually came from me, and they were just ideas. And then I actually took them in and said, ooh, that's the truth. That's how it is. And it actually, it's not that. So if we can learn to be loose with our ideas and not just Kurt, is there something I need to say here that I'm like we've decided these things are true, and so we can actually just poof, they can be gone once we realize that they're not They're not true. We made them all up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would just on the spot here say about that is just the understanding that everything that's out there is a neutral event until we make it something else. And we do that with our thinking. Just the understanding that nothing is what it seems like it really is, that we've created it from within us and then projected it out onto whatever it is that we're interacting with. We're masters of projection. That's all we do. We create it inside, we project it outside, and then through our ability to be conscious, we see all that as true. So we don't just make it true, we really see it as true because it just feels true to us. Just that understanding that we're making it all up and that it's not what we think it is kind of settles you back into the moment where now you can say, is this something I want to continue creating, or would I choose to create something new? Because you have freedom of choice. But when you don't realize that you're creating it, you don't believe you can choose anything new. So it really becomes just that simple. And this is, I just want, if I don't get a chance to say this later, what you're doing for dentistry is transformational. Dentistry needs your message like no other message out there. And if we could only get this, I can't even imagine what the profession could become and the people within the profession could become. So thank you.
Thank you. I believe that. I love this conversation. And sometimes when I talk about it, I think people don't get it or they don't really think it's important or, and I think it's the most important thing. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That really touches me. And thanks for saying that in the way you said it. That was very clear and well said. And I'm talking about what you said before. You said that I was, what I'm sharing with industry. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's so true. And it's so powerful. I think all humans, if it's not one of your top values, I think we all value freedom. And to me, I've had a mentor speak to me about the 4 freedoms, and we think it's time, money, location, and the other one is called inner freedom. And to me, I think inner freedom is the most powerful one because most of us are looking to time, money, and location to make us feel a certain way. Where if we have inner freedom, we can create that anywhere we are. We don't need something outside of us to have that freedom. So, and this is the ultimate freedom, being able to choose. So, thank you. That was beautiful. So, so it's so powerful when we just see it for what it is. It's a neutral event, and our thought is creating our experience of it. And so we can change that in an instant. We can just let go of that thought, and we don't have to worry. Another one's going to come. Even if we don't try to change it, another one will come. But we don't have to grab a hold of a thought and believe that it's true just because we have for eons. Wait, not that any of us are eons old, but you know what I mean. So we don't have to believe it. We don't have to react to it. We can just choose a new thought. And if we don't choose one, purposefully choose something, like decide what we want to be true and make, our experience, we actually can just let that one go and a new one will come in. And they can't come in if we don't have room for them. So that's why I think a lot of people talk about meditating and doing all sorts of things to quiet all of these thoughts in our busy mind so that we actually have space for new thought to come in, like truly new thought. So I believe our authentic leader and our authentic self is a creator. I believe we are here to create, not to be reactors. And that when we're in that triangle and we're in those neural pathways, we're in reacting. And so, I think this knowing is it's just knowing that we're the creator. I can't see my own slides, so just so y'all know, it makes it so much better if we know that we're the creator and we can choose. So I'm going to share these 3 principles. This is a little bit about what Kurt's been studying as well. So there's life. There's just pure potential. There's energy happening all around us, life, pure potential. Some people might call it God. And then there's thought. Thought is our ability to focus energy, which is also our ability to create our life. This is where our free will comes in. And then consciousness is the thing that enables us to actually have the experience of it, to actually see the thing that we're creating or experience the thing that we just thought of or created. Anything you want to add, Kurt? Cool. So these three pieces together create a pretty profound, like, I feel like I could study this for the rest of my life and not really totally understand how it works. But there's one thing that I see about thought that I'll just share, at least right now, looking at it, is that there are levels of thought. There are levels of thinking. There's like small thinking, low level thinking, personal thinking. I think there's even levels inside of our personal thinking. And then there's also universal thought, which is what I called earlier new thought, thought that's coming from somewhere else other than our own little head, even though that it comes through into us through our head. It's not that same old thinking. So there's just levels of thought. So I believe we all have innate wisdom and a connection to something bigger, and we have the capacity to get these creative insights and these new thoughts, and we don't often connect with it. So my question is, how do you connect with that part of yourself to learn your truth? And this has been a journey as well, is to learn what my truth is and how do I know it to be true in a different way than running it through those filters in my head. And one of the ways I know is because I feel like tingling. Even when Kurt was speaking to me and saying dentistry really needs this, I felt tingling in my body, and I know when it's true that that's what I feel. There are other ways as well, but do you guys have a sense of what I'm saying with the different levels of truth and the different levels of thought? I think everybody here does. I can see Pam's face. I can't see anybody else. Is there anybody that wants to say anything right now? Just checking in, because I can't see you all. Okay, cool. Cool. So, my invitation is just to look at how you can really find this truth for yourself, and how do you recognize, like, to start to learn, how do you recognize what feels true for you, and how do you recognize where that thing that you think is true is coming from? It's a certain level of awareness, a certain level of consciousness. And my advice, I know we've all heard this, is slow down. And I'm finally like, okay, I get it. I need to slow down. Moving to Costa Rica forced me to slow down. I think that's why I ended up here, even though I didn't exactly know what I was doing when I moved here. I think that was part of the gift of it for sure. But when Mike said earlier something about know yourself. And I believe the most important and worthwhile thing we can do to change our lives is to take time for self-cultivation. I have a coach that calls it self-cultivation, and I absolutely love that, because it's like gardening. It's like go in there and clean out the weeds and understand. This is what, I didn't understand what know yourself meant. And actually, when Rich Green told me to do this, I didn't see the value of it back then, like 20, however many years ago that was, 15 years ago. But now I absolutely think this is the most important thing we can do for ourselves, is to start to understand our own perspectives and where they came from, and how do we actually want to see the world? We actually have a choice. So if I don't have to see it that way, I mentioned in one of my videos the work of Byron Katie, and she has these beautiful, just 4 questions about any thought that you have, any belief that you have. You can go in and start. It's just an easy way to question your beliefs and look and see if they're really hold up for you, and if they're really true, and if you really want to keep them. I think everybody has heard this quote probably. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom, which, Mike, I think you pointed to that, or it may have been Brett, but in our response lies our growth and our freedom. I think that's an interesting thing, that growth. So in our response lies our growth. So even if we respond in a way that we don't want to respond, we can go back and look at it and see, oh, this is what was going on. I was believing this. I was thinking this. That's why I acted like that. That's why I said that. Right?
Right.
So I just changed this a little bit, that between stimulus and response, there is a thought. In that space where that thought is our power to think, which is our creative power in that moment. And then in that response lies our growth and our freedom. So we do have the power to choose. I guess I could have taken out that last sentence, but our thought is our creative power in that moment between the stimulus and the response. So I believe self-cultivation is how we begin to respond in a way that we want to. I believe self-cultivation is how we even notice that there's a space in the first place, like slowing everything down and looking at how we tick and how this is all happening. And then I shared on my video too. I love this. Like you guys have all heard know, like, and trust. Like we want to get our customers to know, like, and trust us. I believe the real work is to know, love, and trust ourselves. And that's what self-cultivation gives us. It's ways of understanding how we're seeing the world and how we're creating our world. The love is so important because so many of you know this already. I feel like I'm speaking to the choir in some ways, but I know other people will watch this video too. Loving ourselves is so important, because if we go in there and we do self-cultivation and we're sort of beating ourselves up while we're doing it, that's not helpful. It has to be, safe for yourself to change and safe for yourself to look at yourself and see what's really true. And then learning to trust yourself by, like Mike said, I think it was Mike, practicing things, try new things, try actions that are different than the things that you would do in a loving way so that you can grow. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. So here's some ideas about self-cultivation. I'm sure you guys have some other ideas, but, studying, books, videos, any kind of workshops are great for anything. They're in the backs of books. Sometimes there's exercises you can do. But studying and reviewing things, journaling, meditation, contemplation. I'm going to talk about declarations in a second. And then exercises and processes and measuring. None of that done with, especially the measuring, none of that done with critical thinking. So awareness is the first step to all change. And I know you all know this, sometimes when you become aware of things, it's pretty painful. It's like, oh my God, I've been doing that. And it's like, we can beat ourselves up. But that's why I have the without judgment in there, because the awareness is the important first step. And that's what self-cultivation to me is for. So yes, Pam, I see your hand.
I wanted to add something to your list, which is something about a healing relationship focused on, such as therapy or coaching, focused on you and the reflection from another person who is also working on a similar or maybe different path, like someone that can really say, is that necessarily true, with love. So it's like teaching the skill of compassion and love in looking at yourself, so that to really block that tendency to either judge or criticize, or really not have a, like whether it's a mentor or a spiritual teacher or a guide or a coach. I think that healing relationship is essential in that process at various points, not all the time.
Agreed. I love that. Thank you for putting that in. That's true. At least for me, that's been very true. And those of you who've had mentors or coaches probably have had the same experience. And I know several of us on here are coaches. And usually when we're coaches, it's because we have seen the value of being coached ourselves and what it's like to be held with that love and being able to see yourself, because we can't see ourselves. And these beliefs are like transparent. So sometimes it's very hard to see them. So I had some exercises in the workbook for you. I don't think you guys we don't need to necessarily go through these, and I'm also watching the time. But just as far as leadership goes, what I would invite is that you spend some time looking at what get into your heart space, get into that place that is as much as possible not your head, not your beliefs, not what I'm calling your authentic self is the part of you that doesn't have all of that stuff about who you can and can't be, who you should and shouldn't be. All those stories that we have about what a good leader is and what they should be able to do, and really get into your heart and create the leader you would love to be. Like how I heard you say that you're a hands-off leader. And I have a client right now that has this, she has a definition of a leader, and she looks at it and how she sees it is that that's not her. That's not how she is. She's trying to become a leader that's not her natural self. And she's making her natural self wrong in it. And so what we've done is we've created an integrated vision of what her leadership would look like, where she's kind and clear, where she is still, from her heart, but she's also holding people accountable. I'm just going to say it's not really holding them accountable, but holding them accountable to their agreements, to the agreements that she's making with them. We work on agreements with her. So that's what I'm inviting you to, is just after this workshop, spend some time looking at what your authentic version looks like. What would you be saying? What would you be doing? What impact, what results would you be creating? And how would you really like to do that from your undefined self? If there are no rules, what would you love to create here? Hal, you raised your hand.
Yes.
Okay.
You obviously have read a lot of self-help books and things like that. And you mentioned that you're going to give us some ideas as to what to read and things like that. Will you do that via email or at the end of this?
You know what? I'll share right now. I think the book that, or the author that Kurt spoke about, Michael Neal, I would recommend The Inside Out Revolution.
Okay.
It's a very small book. It's a very simple read. It'll keep you engaged. I think you'll really like it. And if you like, I'd love for you to read that and then email me, let me know what you think.
Okay.
And I'll give you more. I mean, I'll be happy to share with you. But yeah, that's an easy one. I have it on audiobook. I have it on Kindle. It's like a 2 or 3 hour audiobook.
Okay.
Can I just add a little quick disclaimer on that book? Like, my experience with that book was, when I first read it, I just didn't get it. Like, I had no idea what he was trying to say. And I put it away for, I don't know, 6 months, a year, maybe something like that. And then for whatever reason, I had kind of learned some new things and saw the world a little differently. And I went back to that book again. I went, oh my God, this is it. This is really going to transform my life. And that's the moment when things really started to shift for me. So if it doesn't totally make sense at first, don't let that get you down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Hal, if it doesn't, I'll just let me know, and I'll give you I'll talk to you about a different book. But I've shared that book with some of my clients, and it's like whoa, like all of a sudden there's like a seeing something they never saw before and a complete change in how they see things.
Okay.
Who is the author?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Who is the author?
Michael Neal.
Okay.
Michael Neal. So let me just real quick, let me see. So there's some exercises for you guys. I really do want to stop on time. We can stay on after if you guys have any questions. If you want the slides, these are a little different than the workbook. I would be happy to just make it into a PDF and share it with you. So you know what? I'll do that for everyone who registered. I do want to share this one last slide with you, or a couple last slides with you. The only thing between you and your innate greatness is your own thinking. And so it's not about adding anything to you. It's actually about removing the layers that are not the real us and really discovering the real us. And if you haven't heard the story of the Golden Buddha, I'm going to share that with you. True story, I believe. In 1957, an entire monastery in Thailand was being relocated by a group of monks. One day they were moving a giant clay Buddha when one of the monks noticed a large crack in the clay. On closer investigation, he saw there was a golden light emanating from the crack. The monk used a hammer to chisel and chip away at the clay exterior until he revealed that the statue was in fact made of solid gold. Historians believe the Buddha had been covered with clay by Thai monks several hundred years earlier to protect it from attack by the Burmese army. In the attack, all the monks had been killed, and it wasn't until 1957 that this great treasure was actually discovered. It's funny, I've heard that story several times, and I never thought about the fact that it was covered with clay for protection. And I think that's so much of the things that we've layered on top of ourselves. These beliefs were done for protection, which is okay. And if it's not serving us anymore, we don't have to keep doing that. So I love this quote by, I don't even know how to say her name right, Pema Chodron. If your mind is expansive and unfettered, you will find yourself in a more accommodating world, a place that's endlessly interesting and alive. That quality isn't inherent in the place, but in your state of mind. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What takeaways you've had? Anything you want to share as we close? Has this been helpful?
Yes,
Allison, it's
absolutely.
been very helpful. One of the things you mentioned was the journal. Keep a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if you write to yourself, it doesn't have to be this long story, but just write it down and look at it later, and things may change. And the other thing that I've read is that if you do it in cursive, I know some of the young people don't do cursive anymore, it changes your brain function so that it's more creative. So journaling, like you mentioned, is very, very important for me anyway.
Awesome, thank you. I do want to speak just for a quick second to the exercises. And again, I'll send you the PDF because I think it might be a little different than the workbook, but I want to just share this one thing with you about self-cultivation. And there's two slides on this. One is about taking action and one is more about a declaration. So there is something really cool. As I shared that this webinar was happening or this workshop was happening, I shared that we were going to look at our obstacles and what they really were. And what I want you to do, this is a different way of being with what we feel like are problems or like discomfort in our bodies that we don't want to feel. So if you make a declaration or speak out loud, you don't have to speak it to another person, but if you speak it to yourself that, I am a powerful, clear, kind leader, whatever your words are, whatever your thing is, make a declaration of it, and then actually notice how it feels in your body. Like, does it feel true or not? And you can also do this with an action, like say, a clear leader would do this, and you can either decide to take the action or do the action, and then feel what happens in your body and use that feeling in your body where it feels like resistance or like, it doesn't feel true, or you'll feel like a contraction. So you will be able to recognize then that there's some belief in you that's in your way of what you're speaking that you want to become. And you can then look at, okay, what is this? And you can ask yourself the question with whatever that is coming up. Well, no, I'm not a great leader because I've done this and that. All your evidence that you've collected will come up. And so your job would be to actually ask a question in a way, or take a small baby step in the direction of being the leader that you want to be, to now start to collect new evidence that you are indeed that. So does that make sense?
Yes.
It's small baby steps. Like if Hal wanted to be a more involved leader, you could do something small that would begin to prove to you, and then celebrate it. You know, I did this. I'm being a more proactive leader. If you make the declaration and you notice that something just feels like it's not fitting, you can actually start to integrate the two by saying, how can I be this and this? Or how can this and this both be true? Or how can I start to look at it and sort of mold it into something that moves you in the direction that you want to go in, instead of getting stuck in this, like, there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way, which I haven't read and I don't necessarily right now want to, but I do believe that if you can get into that obstacle and what's actually in there, you can heal it and transform it into a new belief and a new thought that can actually move you forward to the direction that you want to move. So I just wanted to say that in case it's not clear in the workbook or in the slides that I send you. So I want to go back to takeaways, questions. As we close, if you have to hop off, it's okay. I understand we're a few minutes over.
So one other thing, I hate to talk this much, but I think we have to choose who or what we want to lead, and be willing to accept those that want us to lead them.
Yeah, I feel like we could probably do a whole nother workshop on leading others, right?
Yeah.
For all the pieces that are important for that, because I've today mostly focused on leading ourselves because I feel like that's where it all starts. Yeah, that's a great question. Who do we want to lead, and what do we want to lead, and how do we want to lead? Do we want to allow ourselves to lead? Anything else anybody wants to say?
I like
This is Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa, and then who was the other person?
was Brett.
Brett. Okay, Lisa and then Brett.
I just want to say, especially right now, I'm really appreciating the focus on first looking at leading myself, because so much of this, I'm thinking about how I'm going to apply externally, and also having great appreciation for applying it internally. But when I hear it and when I receive it, I'm thinking about how I'm applying it externally. So thank you for especially that last piece, to just step back and go, what if I actually did these steps with myself, instead of just thinking about how I'm going to do these steps with my clients? And so thank you for that reminder. Powerful call, got a lot out of it, and I'll share with you as I.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. All right, Brett.
So, yeah, Lisa kind of stole what I was going to say too, but just a reminder of self-cultivation is the best thing we could do to grow, you know. And I love what you said, you know, find ways to know ourselves, love ourselves, and trust ourselves.
Yeah. You know, I want to say this real quick, the self-cultivation thing, the first belief to work on or the first thought to work on is anything that's in your way of your own self-cultivation. So like, if you're like, I'm not a meditator, or I don't have the time, or any of that stuff comes up, that's the first place to start to transmute those beliefs, is anything that's getting in the way of that self-cultivation. You reminded me of that, Brett, so thanks.
I started doing focus meditation in December, and I do it pretty much every day, and it's really changed my life. You know, 10 minutes. I use the Headspace app. There's also the Calm app, or you could just do it without. But I just I don't know, that 10 minutes in the morning sets my tone for being an effective day or not.
Beautiful. I will stay on after for a few minutes to talk. So I have had this idea of putting together almost like a little leadership study club, and I put a little proposal together, and I'm happy to talk if any of you guys want to stay on. Before I do that, I want to show you this quick video that I love. It's called Surprise Yourself. Awesome. I love that video. So I just want to invite you all to create yourself how you want to create yourself. Surprise yourself. Let yourself be new. Let yourself be you. Thank you for being here. If you want to stay on, I'll stay on for a little bit. If not, thank you for being here, and have a blessed day. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Allison, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Hey, Allison.
Thanks, Paul. See ya.
All right. Hey, Allison, do you have a second here?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on.
Oh, okay, good. Can I ask you a question about something that you talked about a little while ago?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, and I know I kind of got in late on the program, but one of the things you were talking about was, just the space between reaction and choosing our responses.
Yes.
I mean, everybody knows that cognitively that, yeah, you have a stimulus and you have the choice to react or to consciously decide what your reaction is going to be. It's not, it's really difficult, and I struggle with that, and I see that that same struggle with my daughter, and I try to help her with it. That space exists, but getting into that space and not reacting is very difficult. And I was wondering if you had any tips or thoughts about that.
I have to say, I read that quote for the first time in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it blew my mind. And I'd say that was when I was in dental school. So that was 25 years ago. And it's taken me this long to actually notice the space. And I'm going to try to, I've done so much work. What I think it has come from for me is the best I can describe it is doing the work on myself to be okay. What has my mind go crazy is, and I think this is true for all people, most of us, is trying to solve problems, trying to fix things, trying to figure things out so I can get ahead of them, trying to all these things. And so when I actually made that transition with the work that I've done, which I feel this Inside Out book that I just recommended to the Inside Out Revolution that I just recommended to Hal might be a good read for you.
Okay.
Because there is something about understanding the way that we work. And then I do think loving ourselves and being loving to ourselves. I've done a lot of work on that. But there is something about knowing how the whole machine actually works that helps us be able to see it in action. And then, Paul, there are layers and layers and layers of beliefs in there that it's just, I think that's the first step is just understanding how it works. And there are different places those thoughts can come from. But if we just know that it's a thought and we can let it go and we don't have to grab a hold of it and believe it and try to fix it or change it or solve it or understand it or prove something, or if we can just start letting those thoughts go, our mind gets much quieter and everything just kind of slows down.
All right. Very cool. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
You can tell you've been exploring this, and it's pretty remarkable. It's pretty cool watching all of this.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I'm committed to getting this out in the world. So all those people on Surprise Yourself doing the thing they're afraid of, public speaking is that for me. So I was loving myself today. Like I'm here for, this is like my purpose is to share this stuff with people. So I'm so thrilled that you got something out of it and that you were here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Have an awesome day.
You too.
See you soon.
Thank you, Alice. I'm the last guy on, I think.
Oh, there's a couple of other people, but they've been
Oh,
quiet.
okay.
We have Tucker and Robert, and haven't
Okay.
heard them yet. So,
Go ahead, listen to them. I just want to.
well, I don't
Say
know
thank
if
you.
they're actually actively participating. So Tucker and
Okay. Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to hear your voice again,
thanks, Mike.
and I'm really happy Lisa was there because she and I have become good friends, and I know Ryan really well. And one of the things that I've changed in my practice, I'm only doing 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and I teach in the U of R Eastman program as an assisting. You know, I'm an old man that teaches young kids how to do dentistry,
Mhm.
and one of the people that was there was from Costa Rica.
Oh, really?
She's a dentist from Costa Rica. Her sister is coming up to do the program next year, or she's interviewing this year. And she and I did a restorative case together in the clinic. And I didn't know all the rules from the hierarchy of dentistry. And they wanted to take away all my privileges for teaching Crown and Bridge because I wasn't a prosthodontist.
Huh.
And she won the prosthodontic award for that case.
Awesome.
And the story is they didn't like the downtown clinic, which is across the street from my practice, winning an award, but they didn't have a prosthodontist down there. So
That is
this is
awesome.
part of that's part of the curiosity and the stuff that I love to go with. And I really respect what you're doing. And I'm trying to get young people to listen to stuff, and it's really difficult sometimes, but I'm trying to find a way to actually bring you to Rochester, but I don't have that much power anymore.
That's funny. Yeah, I think this is the most important thing. I just know it in my heart that it's the most, like we go out there and we try to learn how to be great dentists and do these great things and think it does change lives, and it is a good thing, and the journey is wonderful. And if we don't do the work on the beliefs that are underneath, it doesn't work.
Well, I don't want to keep it, but my experience was I was a history major, an English major in college, and somehow I got into dental school. And I think what I see in a lot of dentists and physicians are they've always been driven by outside sources to become who they are.
Yes.
And they finally get to be who they are, and they don't really know who they are because they've never looked at themselves.
Yeah.
And I think if I can, part of my goal is not to teach dentistry to these residents, is to teach them how to look at the patient is more important than the teeth. And I ask them the question. I say, know yourself, know your work, know your patient, apply your knowledge. I say, what are you talking about? I'm just doing dentistry. I said, well, you're not really doing dentistry. So that's my reason. That's my next goal, to see if I can be. I mean, I'm 73 years old, Allison. So I'm still working at it.
Still got time.
So I'll let you go. I'm going to say goodbye.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for being here. So awesome to hear your voice, and thank you for your contribution. Always.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. All right. We have Tucker and Robert and Paul. Does anybody want to say anything before we close? Tucker and Robert, thanks for being here. And Paul, thanks for being here. It was wonderful. Have an awesome day, guys. I'll see you next time, and I'll catch you on the recording. Bye.